There we go. And we're live with another Wow Ergonomics. Welcome to Thursday today. Not our normal home from home, but a good day of the week, nevertheless. And I'm just playing with my shadows at the moment. So if you hear a patchy, anyway, no, I mean my light shadows. How do you find, with your new light from Bakker Keyboard, and how do you find the shadows on that?
Yeah.
Hello? Is he there? Hello.
Graham, I'm having signal problems.
He's having signal problems. Okay. Stephen's
Give me 2 minutes. I'll try on a different laptop.
Okay. Stephen's having signal problems at the moment. So I'm gonna literally take over the whole of the screen and be there for you whilst Stephen. There we are. Whole of the screen. He had the whole of the screen. How are you doing, everybody? Have you stayed well this week? Have you stayed fit and healthy? I've been to Portugal over the last week. I had a bit of a holiday. Thanks for asking. It was rather nice, much warmer than here. Missed the whole of the Platinum Jubilee, of course. But having said that, I did watch the highlights on YouTube, which was lovely. And my friend Troy Miller conducting the orchestra for Diana Ross, the last part of the Jubilee concert. Did anyone see that? He was the guy in the blue suit conducting the orchestra. Yeah, there you go. A wonderful thing. And I'm sure we all loved the Paddington Bear sketch that started the concert and led us into Queen. Not the Queen that we were jubileeing, but Queen the band, with a marvelous, robust performance of their greatest timbre. But here we are with Wow Ergonomics. I'm waiting for my friend Stephen to reconnect. But meanwhile, I just want to ask you this question: What have you been doing to look after yourself recently? Have you been out and about exercising? Have you been taking it easy? Have you been, looking after your mental health, getting some rest? I hope you have been doing all of those things. And make sure, as someone told me the other day in a network meeting, quite rightly so, that you take lots of this stuff. And it's not, of course, vodka or gin. For all of those that are watching this on Spotify right now, you can't see, but I'm holding up a glass of clear liquid, which is in fact water. The liqueur of life, as they say. Always good to rehydrate during the day, but don't have too large a glass or a bottle on your desk. That's my piece of advice, because then you never actually get up to get any more of it. But drinking water, of course, does mean that you will find yourself coming back to the desk after going to the toilet quite a lot. So that's a good thing as well. A lot of people think that actually one of the things that you need to do is drink any liquid during the day. But if the liquid that you're drinking has things like caffeine, etc., and it can be really rather bad for you. In fact, it can actually dehydrate you. So not all liquid is the same. Water is ideal. Absolutely ideal. And now, by the power of Grayskull, we are joined once again by the wonderful Steven Howe. There he is. Although he appeared for a second as a keyboard and then disappeared once again. But I can see him as a white dot on the screen.
Hello.
And there he is.
Hello.
Apologies. What happened there?
Well, I'm having a few issues with my work laptop that has been playing. It's been absolutely fine this morning. Just started to play up as we were about to begin the show, and then it crashed. So I quickly went and got the home laptop and accessing through there. So apologies for that. What did I miss?
Well, I was talking about my little excursion to Portugal, where the weather was hot, but the Jubilee was not. But there we go. But I said I did catch some of it on Catch Up, particularly the music side of things. Tom went on a 4-day spa break in Vals in Switzerland.
Ooh,
Lovely.
nice.
Mountains and hot water. Meanwhile, the UK partied. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Well, so I've been told. It may all have been an illusion. Maybe none of it actually happened while I was away. But my mum told me it happened, so maybe there's some truth in it.
From a music perspective,
Yes.
have you watched back Rod Stewart's performance yet? Which seemed to be quite a hot topic. It seemed to divide opinion quite strongly.
Well, yes.
And your expert opinion would be?
I skipped over it very quickly.
But because you don't think you could have put yourself through it?
Look, Rod Stewart was once a great, fantastic entertainer, stroke singer. Yeah. I felt there were two parts of the show that were worth really concentrating on. I felt it was the first part of the show where we had the Queen with Paddington leading into Queen. Yeah. Queen on Queen. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
That it was everything it should have been. Brian May popping up out of somewhere, doing his guitar bit, etc. That was great. And the end of the show was good with Diana Ross.
Yeah.
And my friend Troy Miller conducting the orchestra. So yeah, that was good. And
but the rest of it?
And the rest of it was sandwich filler.
It's called a something sandwich, isn't it, or something like that? So
yeah, it's the rest of it was in the middle of those two bits.
Was there nothing in the middle that even mildly impressed you, or even Tom Morley, who's watching? Surely, Tom, you must have some thoughts on that, on the performances.
I was very impressed with how well behaved the guards were.
Okay,
and although I thought that the royal family, I thought the young children in the royal family were very entertaining.
I mean, basically, you're saying you were massively underwhelmed with the performances of said British music stars of the last 20 or 30 years. You didn't like Simon Le Bon. You didn't like Duran Duran's performance.
Yeah, Duran Duran were okay, and actually, our friend Sam Spaceman, he was great.
Yeah.
No, I loved him. I mean, he was excitable, and everything that he was. Tom, I was in the mountain feeding goats. Didn't miss much.
Yeah,
but yeah,
Tom didn't get the call. Clearly, that's why he left the country in protest. He didn't get the royal memo, did he, to be available on Saturday?
I have to say, if Tom Morley, who's a fan of the show, because we pay him, Tom Morley, if Tom had been there performing, I felt I would have felt it been a much better show. In all honesty, I quite happily would have taken Mr. Stewart out and put Tom Morley in his place. Yeah, I think it would have been good, and he would have got the crowd really going as well. Because that's the thing, I wonder, there were parts of it where the crowd could have been involved more. Yeah, being a very public event. I know Rod Stewart tried to get the crowds involved, but
yeah. The one bit we really enjoyed, which we didn't clock on to start with when we were watching it live, was it or wasn't it the Queen with Paddington? So we had no idea, obviously, before, and the room was quite 50-50 divided. Half of us thought it was the Queen, half of it thought it was some sort of improviser, and then of course I don't know whether it came out on social media or whatever afterwards that it actually was, or however it came out, but we were like, is it? No, it can't be.
What? I missed all of that. So was it the Queen or not?
It was the Queen, but you were very much unsure whether it was the Queen doing the whole Paddington. But
it was a CGI'd Queen with animatronics. Is that what was?
No. It was the actual Queen.
Right. Yeah.
It was the actual Queen
with animatronics and some CGI.
Yeah. Yeah, but you were never sure, and but then someone said, but hang on, remember when she did the scenes with Daniel Craig for the 2012 Olympics? But that was 10 years ago, and anyway, it turned out it was her. If you haven't seen that yet, watch it. It is the Queen.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It was I mean, look at the the Queen is great at acting. She's had to be over the years with her family. So you know, it's and you know, look at it this way as well. She's had to be incredibly polite in front of lots of different politicians who are buffoons. So I mean, she must be brilliant at acting. Queen on Queen action. Yeah, quite. You know, if yeah, exactly. If I'd have got that memo, I'd have got my bongos out. Yeah.
It was interesting speaking to some colleagues from the Netherlands and Germany on Tuesday, because they were off on they had a public holiday Monday, so I sort of caught up with a few of the guys sort of Tuesday and yesterday. And again, they were quite surprised by the whole grandioso of the event in terms of breaking it down to raw economics. You know, the country's struggling. People are struggling to pay their gas and electric bills and food bills and petrol and all that sort of stuff. Yet we've gone and spent what I'm sure is millions of pounds on something like that. And it was an interesting sort of observation, really, purely seeing it from an economic perspective as opposed to a celebratory type of piece. Now, obviously, it will have generated money because there'll be people in hotels, there'll be people, you know, all the stuff that went around the London piece. Yeah. But it's just an interesting sort of external observation about what we did.
I was going to say on that, it wasn't you know, was there a return on investment? Because one of the reasons apparently that was given, having been to a airport in the last week or so, and we get onto the subject of airports and stuff like that.
Planes, trains, and automobiles we're covering today, I think.
Absolutely. But one of the reasons given for the whole debacle and the fact that, you know, people were queuing at airports and things were going wrong was the fact that they couldn't cope with the amount of people traffic that was coming into the country for the Jubilee. So, you know, but that raises another question. Why were we allowing so many people into the country when we are still potentially in you know, the phrase of the old COVID? Don't know. You know, what's that going to do? Who knows?
It's interesting. I mean, you know, that Yen heard someone else made a point about we're told to sort of reduce pollution and all that sort of stuff, and yet we've got lights going on all over the place, and you know, it's. You can get a little bit sort of breaking everything down, because otherwise, if you look at everything going on in the world, you wouldn't do anything, would you? So you've got to balance it up with the fact that, you know, it probably in reality generated more income for the country than what we probably spent. But I think the problem is if you judge it on face value, you go, something doesn't quite sit right with a lot of people, does it, in difficult times?
No, I haven't bought my Jubilee. I was going to say pancake, my Jubilee T-shirt yet. Right. Do you remember Jubilee pancakes? I mean, that was the one thing that the ill-fated Little Chef did really well.
Chef.
Do you remember Little Chef? You know, we're going to bring in planes, trains, and automobiles. Let's bring back memories. Little Chef, right? Yeah. Two things Little Chef were famous for: the Olympian, was it the Olympian breakfast? Right, which wasn't actually that big, but you know, it was big, but it wasn't actually that big. But what a great name, the Olympian breakfast.
It sounds good.
It sounds good, doesn't it? I mean, who wouldn't want an Olympian breakfast?
Yeah.
It had an Olympian price tag, which may have been something downfall. But also Jubilee pancakes, you know, cherries probably out of a tin in that kind of syrupy sauce in a pancake. Yeah. That was marvelous. People at one point used to travel to a Little Chef just to get that.
Yeah. Last one, Graham, on music in the Jubilee. Yeah. So our road wasn't shut off, but ours is sort of a U-shaped road. So at either corner, there's like a mini sort of roundabout in the road. And so it wasn't shut off, but somebody had kindly organised for a performer to come and stand on one of the said roundabouts and perform some songs, going under the name of Barry Styles.
Barry Styles
was a guy in his 60s, rocks up in a tuxedo, dumps down a couple of portable speakers, and then just continues to bang out some anthems. To be quite honest, I was very impressed. Obviously, there was some Harry Styles, but a bit of Beatles, bit of Frank, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, Barry Styles.
There you are. I've actually got his new album right here, Barry Styles.
Barry Styles.
Actually, there he is. That's him there, Barry Styles.
But his version of the Harry Styles, is it called As It Was? The one the current that was just like it sort of really slowed it down, and it was just quite it was an old boy's interpretation of it. So fair play to him for
fantastic. Actually, I saw this week that Liam Gallagher has gone to #1 with his album.
Has he?
Yeah. Again. So he's really sort of stolen the mantle off of his brother Noel.
Yeah, absolutely.
At one point, there was. Sorry, folks, if you tuned in to hear us talk about ergonomics.
No, we get onto that.
Yeah, at one point we will actually. At one point, there was, after Oasis sort of ground to a halt, there was the whole BDI thing, and Noel came out with his first album, and BDI didn't really sort of do so well with audiences. It didn't really happen for Liam, etc. And it was all kind of Noel going, well, I'm the one with talent, and Liam's, and look what's happened.
Roles reversed.
Yeah, Liam seems to have found his little groove at the moment. He seems to be, I mean, I can't say the singing's all top notch, but
no,
but the passion's there. I think that's what it is. I think people like. And I think people like him on social media as well, on TV and stuff, because he really is he's a cad. He's
value for money.
He is value. He's great. If you follow Liam on Twitter, just to say, if you want a giggle, follow Liam on Twitter. He's always good for a comment,
right?
On everything. Yeah,
I'll have to do that.
Sometimes his comments aren't that politically correct, but you get the value that you want.
And the language may be a little bit choice, I guess.
The language might be a little bit tart for some people.
Yeah.
So it depends. No, absolutely. So I wanted to talk to you about how your products are made this morning.
That's a very good question.
Yeah. Well, when I say this morning, it's now this afternoon. But I'd like to, but this could be going out at the morning. You could be listening to this at 4 a.m. in the morning as you're driving down the motorway. So let's dispense with time. Time is an element we don't need to deal with. I'd like to talk to you. Liam's groove is at the intersection of discipline, surrender, and mischief. Yes, and Tom would know all about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kindred spirit.
So in terms of how your products are made, can you shed any light onto that? I mean, have you ever been to see any of them being made, or?
No, I haven't. I mean, you'd probably split our products into two sort of distinct areas, to be honest. So you've got the electronic products, those things like keyboard and mice, and those are, although they're obviously our design, those products are manufactured in the Far East. Yep. So they predominantly would be Chinese manufactured Dutch design products.
Yep.
The other side of the product, which is things around document slopes, laptop stands, monitor stands, safety screens, those type of products are Dutch designed and Dutch made products. So they're obviously made a lot closer to the UK. So you probably would literally split this in two. Probably you'd see with other people who do not necessarily similar things, but have a portfolio of products. The electronics products tend to push themselves to the Far East, as it were, and locally you can produce a lot of the other products.
Okay. So what we're saying then, saying is that we're saying that a product like you might have one there, product like one of your laptop holders where it's like cut out of aluminium, etc.
Yep.
That is made in the Netherlands.
Correct.
Right. And laser cut, something like that, maybe?
Yes, it would be, yes.
Yeah. But something like the keyboards, you think that's made in China?
Why you said I think it's made? Are you trying to
catch
me
because
out?
Actually, I've investigated this and I found out that actually most of it's made here in the UK, in my kitchen.
Okay, tell me more.
It's true. And actually, we're just going to watch a video clip now of how one of the Bakker products, the keyboard that actually you can give us a quick close up of now. With your
Hang on, let's try not
super
to.
camera. Again, if you're on Spotify, there you go.
No, hang
Lovely.
on. There we go. S-Board 840 wired keyboard.
So if you're watching on Spotify, then you've just had a keyboard held up. So here's a little video of how they're made in the UK. In the kitchen today, we're going to make a Bakker Elkhuysen keyboard. Flour, pistachio nuts, pops. Pull it all out, place it onto the baking tray, the oven, and here it is. See? See?
How quickly can you produce 4,000 of them?
Well, you saw how quickly I produced one there.
Yeah. Get cracking then. Wow, that's awesome.
Isn't that great? You never knew that, did you?
I didn't.
And do you know what the important thing is for a keyboard?
Okay.
It has all the key ingredients. Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Very good, Graham. Very good. I like that.
Yeah, thank you. I shall be sending you that later so you can share it on social media if you want.
Or press delete.
Until your bosses go, what?
Yeah. Who is this man?
Oh dear. But I thought, that's
good.
That could be how they're made. Have you ever thought of, and here's a good one, have you ever thought of sponsoring, because I know Lego do this.
Okay.
Have you ever thought of sponsoring in schools as a way of promoting ergonomics within schools, a competition within schools where school children of different ages could design an ergonomic product?
We haven't. That's an interesting one. But
Isn't it a good idea?
Yeah. But then what would our R&D team do? You'd be taking their job away. That's what they're there to do, is design products. But it would be interesting to get a kid's view on something like that. I
think it would be great. Yeah. I mean, actually, they could actually do it as a project, and they could actually make it.
Yeah.
I just think it'd just be a really good way of getting them involved in the process of taking the problem, understanding the problem, and seeing what design they came up with.
I wonder how much kids actually get understand the problem. Because obviously they're using a lot more. They're using laptops and things from an earlier age now. I wonder how their experiences of using devices like that. We talk about things like Technic, etc. But I wonder if that's something that the kids are actually identifying with.
Well, it just made me think about it from a different perspective, because we see posts and we read posts, quite rightly so, where we say that children's ergonomics is important, and that as adults we need to be more responsible and think about the way that our youngsters and our families as a whole are using tech products and working with things. And it's not all about whether you're running your own business, have you got the right setup for that during the day. If your children are studying, and we all saw that even more once we had our children homeworking or home learning with us during the pandemic, and it was so important to get your kids set up with the right setup. But are we actually really relating to them the issue if we do it that way? Or should we really, I think with a lot of things, should we start earlier and actually, talk to schools? I mean, one of the things my wife does, she works as a dental nurse. She's head nurse for a couple of practices. And one of the things they do as a practice is they get invited into schools to talk about teeth and how to look after teeth, and for the children that can't afford it, they give out free toothbrushes and toothpaste, etc. And a lot of the parents are getting it wrong in terms of the education around dental hygiene.
And actually, as you say though, Graham, if you think about it, that's what a lot of the dentists are like your wife do, is you get the problem dealt with early, and you don't experience because actually there's a lot of similarities between sort of dental work and ergonomics. As the more you start thinking it and playing it through your mind, is the fact that deal with the issue early in terms of whether it's the setup or whether it's the teeth. The problems don't occur, such as the neck and the decay and the fillings, and therefore it carries on and gives people a better quality of life as they go through. So actually, and that's obviously why you brought this up as a subject, I guess, but the two are very, very similar. Tackle the issue early and prevent the problems occurring later down the line.
Yeah. So I think it would be a really great idea.
Are we taking Wow Ergonomics on the road into a school then, Graham? Is that what you're thinking?
I think that would be an absolutely brilliant idea. I think it would be, that should be our challenge for sometime this year.
But could we get some of our friends from the ergonomic trade to get involved and make it a bit of a wider event? Because actually, I don't see anyone. I know we talk about the universities a lot in our field, such things such as the DSA, etc. But we don't. It doesn't. It seems to start at 18 or 19, doesn't it? It doesn't seem to bridge that 11 to 18 gap. I think is the one that's being missed out on, where children are generally working with some type of device. I mean, I've seen my oldest son. I mean, he probably shouldn't be doing this. Walking home from school, doing his homework on his iPhone or his tablet. And he's getting there and doing it. So he's not even going to the laptop. He's actually going to another type of solution. And again, what's he doing? Looking down. Do you know what I mean? It's that if that's the way they're doing their homework, we need to tackle that.
Now, you see, if we're really smart and really on the money to get the best sort of marketing leverage of this, what we ought to do is we ought to approach a school that is going to be on TV. So if you remember, like the series Educating Manchester or whatever, where they went into that school in Manchester, and what we should do is we should see if in fact, if anybody's out there that are making TV shows to do with a school, just let us know. We should see if there's a school that are going to be involved in a TV series and see if we could get in whilst the filming's happening. To do an event on ergonomics in the school and make it out like the teachers have, brought us in, right, as part of their, widening the social curriculum for the students to really teach them something valuable beyond the national curriculum. That'd be excellent. What a massive piece of marketing that would be.
Fantastic. But it is. I mean, A, with my sales hat on, it's a big area of opportunity. But B, actually, it's a big area of action that we can actually seriously contribute to the health of the youngsters as they progress from education through to work, isn't it? Because then they carry those habits on. They then challenge what are they being given. They chat them. This is not the correct setup. I know that I need this.
Well, for me, and we've said it so many times. One of the big issues for us is that, I think you said it last week. We've been doing this for about 2 years now, and the issues still remain exactly the same. Yes, there are new people week in, week out that pop up and go, I know, I understand a bit about ergonomics now, and I've bought a bit of kit and I've done this. But for every one of those that you meet, there's another one that goes, "Oh, I didn't realise. I didn't know I needed to do any of this." And I've been suffering with my back, and I've got neck strain, or I've got issues with carpal tunnel or whatever. And they really don't have a clue. Even though the information's out there, they just really don't have a clue. And for me, it would just be brilliant if we could actually do something which took it right to that starting level and go, right, okay, we're going to go into a school, teach a whole load of kids that there's this discipline. The other thing is, and I've been talking to some of our ergonomist friends about this as well, wouldn't it be great actually to promote it as a science as well? Because, at what point did you first hear the word ergonomic and understand that there was a discipline about ergonomics? Clearly, I went through the whole of my school life without ever hearing the word. You
Never
know?
heard it. Never heard it. I mean, I'll be honest, it only really probably came, prior to working for Bakker, previously working for an organization that sold Bakker's products. So I only really engaged when it actually came something that I was actually getting involved with and providing as a solution.
Yeah. So again, what a great thing to do, to offer the opportunity to young people as well, to go, do you know what? Actually, there's this whole field out there that you could of work and study that you could go into, which nobody at school's teaching you about. But actually, look at the start to think about the application. And yeah, I mean, okay, if we end up with more ergonomists, but maybe if we did that as well, maybe we'd end up with maybe more ergonomists at different levels as well, so that actually more organizations would have that influence in terms of design, etc., at early stages, because it's another big problem, which is that so much design goes on without people being centric to it. And whether it's how many times have you sat on a public piece of public transport or whatever and gone, oh god, who are these seats meant to be for? Like they're all too small, or the storage space somewhere isn't big enough, or something's always too high. It's again, it's down to design that's not having a pair of eyes there that goes, but have you thought about the fact that someone's got to do that 100 times? Oh no, I hadn't thought about that. It looked great.
What I'm liking today, Graham, is there's a slight shadow that I've noticed behind your arm. So when you're moving your arm, it's like that person who does, sort of the bird. Yeah, yeah. It was slightly off-putting that there was like a bird flying across the. I thought it was one of those pigeons actually had got in through your window and was.
I can do a rabbit, but yeah. Anyway,
this is really no good for anyone on Spotify, but it was yeah.
And that was the latest single by the Shadow Puppets.
Yeah. Is there someone called the Shadow Puppets?
Yeah, there is. There is. The Shadow Puppets are Alex Turner from
Blur? No.
Alex Turner, and I'll think of the name. You dance floor, and
there's this thing in front of me called Google.
And Miles Kane, Alex Turner and Miles Kane it is. Why is that name gone? That's so annoying. Arctic Monkeys.
Yes. Yeah. There we go.
My brain was quicker than Google there. That was good.
Yeah. My typing was horrific, that was all. So Who am I thinking of from Blur then? Damon Albarn. Who else was in Blur?
Alex is the bass player.
Yes.
Yeah. He now owns a farm.
Is he the guy who does cheese or wine?
Yeah,
cheese.
Cheese. He's a cheese connoisseur.
Is he down your neck of the woods?
No, I don't think he's down. No? I think he's I'm going to say Sussex or somewhere like that.
Okay.
But he runs he was running a festival every year as well.
Right.
And I think Jamie Oliver was involved in it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Jamie Oliver at one point was involved in most things.
Yeah. Now there's a name that seems to have sort of, I know we're digressing totally here, but he's sort of just sort of going that way, isn't he? Really, restaurants have all gone into liquidation or whatever. He's not all over the TV. I'm sure he's still extremely wealthy, but he's just someone you went from seeing everywhere to not really.
Well, it's very interesting. I'm happy to talk about this subject briefly because I'm quite knowledgeable on it, and B, it does have an impact upon the local economy here, because we used to have in Axminster, but it has now gone. Of recent times, we used to have the River Cottage Cafe run by Hugh Fernley-Whittenstall himself, who had River Cottage down here.
HFW.
Yes, but I'm not sure whether, and people might need to correct me on this. I'm not sure whether River Cottage even exists anymore. But certainly,
you mean
River
sort of
Cottage,
financial issues?
I don't know. I don't know whether it's here or whether
Okay.
he's moved from here or whatever. But certainly he was local to here. My wife saw him outside the dentist one time in the middle of COVID. Actually, he was filming some kind of documentary.
Right.
Wasn't using his mask properly. My wife loved pointing out things like that. Yeah, he was local to here, but he had a cafe that sold food and snacks and whatever in Axminster, called the River Cottage Cafe, but that's now gone. So he's another one that seems to disappear off. The people that have survived, of course, are Gino DeCampo and Gordon Ramsay. Now, I'm not surprised that Gordon Ramsay survived, really, because I mean he's just angry.
He's just bullish, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I still occasionally, when you sort of go on a UK holiday and you sort of get up and the choice of program is fairly limited, and the number of channels is quite limited. You always come across a Hell's Kitchen USA with someone, and you're thinking, how on earth were they running a restaurant before? And some of the stuff is just like horrendous, isn't it?
What's your favourite ever scene from a Hell's Kitchen? I know what mine is. Totally.
Nothing specific. Just a huge memory of lots of very, very dim American restaurant owners. But you've clearly got one that's stuck in your mind.
There was one where it came out and it was a salad. And he's like, "You've cooked the lettuce." It's so irate. It's like, why? Why have you? It's just brilliant. Yeah. There's a young lad that impersonates Gordon Ramsay really very well on Instagram and TikTok.
Okay.
And there's a really good skit that he did of a young lad coming to the door to date Gordon Ramsay's daughter, and it's Gordon Ramsay's reaction to him. And it is absolutely brilliant. You're on mute, by the way. There you go. Yeah, and it's absolutely brilliant, and it's he's going, "Oh, you muppet," and it's just absolutely spot on. But that is, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best things ever on TV is Gordon, Gino, and Fred.
Okay.
If you haven't, have you never seen it?
No, never seen it. Oh, sorry.
No. Oh my word. Well, for anybody that's out there that wants to spend time watching something or listening to something, of course, your number one is Wow Ergonomics each week. Yeah. But second only to that is Gino, Gordon, and Fred. And it's them going on an adventure somewhere in the world.
Right.
And you can just imagine the dynamic between those three.
Yeah.
And it's always a competition. They're like naughty schoolboys. It's hilarious. Absolutely. So yeah, if you get a chance to ever find that on catch up or whatever, watch that. You will be completely addicted. It is brilliant.
What are you watching at the moment, Graham?
Oh, on TV?
Or catching up or whatever.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've had a week off TV, really. Apart from, we did watch a couple of films on on a Portuguese channel called Hollywood, which is a great, great title for a film channel. So yeah, apart from a couple of films which were really, really quite good, we didn't watch any. We watched a tiny bit of the Jubilee stuff, the catch up of the music on YouTube. But apart from that, no, it was a week away from TV. But before that, my favourite thing, which has just ended, was The Simpler Life. I loved that when a group of people were Amish. I do watch, even though my son's going to tell me off of that because Addie really doesn't like her. We do watch quite a lot of Stacey Dooley. Yeah, you see, you've
fingers down a short blackboard.
But I do quite like her DNA program. Have you seen it? No, you don't. You don't like.
I think the fact she's doing it sort of puts me off it a little bit, to be honest.
Right. So. Yeah, he's the same. He finds her quite grating, like a blackboard. Yeah.
Now, speaking of people who grate on you, so I meant to say this to you a few weeks ago. You know, we mentioned Barry Styles earlier before, didn't we? And doing a few, sort of a few songs. I don't know. I think I saw it on Gogglebox the other week. Remember Jane McDonald?
Yes.
Right. There were. I don't know what the program was, but there was a part of the segment of the program on Gogglebox was about a Jane McDonald program. And do you remember the song "Cake by the Ocean"? Jane McDonald did her version of it, right? Have you seen it? Oh my God! I don't know what to say about that. Who on earth let her do that, and who on earth let that go out on TV? It was absolutely horrendous.
But we quite like Jane McDonald in this house. I mean, overall, if it's a toss-up between Jane McDonald and what's that Scottish comedian Susan? Is it Caskell, something like that? The smaller woman who basically does Jane McDonald shows like Jane McDonald. Because she can't sing, she just mimes and dances, and it's virtually the same. It's probably Jane McDonald out of the both of them. I mean,
really?
Look, what a life, hey? Traveling to different parts of the world, eating all that food, clearly drunk half the time.
Ruining early 2010 songs.
Yeah,
for a lot of people who can never listen to them again. It's
a perfect life, isn't it? So, I mean, if we're going to go on to that subject, who was better as travel man? Is it the new guy, or was it the old guy?
Ooh. Not sure. What about you?
I'm quite enjoying the new guy. Actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I think he's the slightly less sarcasm.
Right.
And I think
which helps.
I think it really does help. Now, clearly, I've just been on holiday.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit quickly about the ergonomics of going on holiday, because planes in general, it's all too small.
Yeah,
isn't it? Really?
So how many of you went? 5, 6? 6. No Addy.
No
Addy.
Everybody else went. Yeah.
So I bet you had to cram everything in there. I was going to say, this is the whole thing is all about cramming as much into a smaller space as possible, be it cases or the actual plane itself, isn't it?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Lots and one thing that really gets me, and look, I understand, that it's all about making money, and money's tight for everybody, etc. But I can guarantee that the luggage, amount of luggage you're allowed to take into different areas, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller year on year. There was a couple in front of us at Faro Airport on the way back, and that's the bit I don't get. When you're on your way back, surely you would get this right, because you've come on out with the luggage.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but they were being told, no, you can't take that on board as hand luggage, because you only get a really small bag. So once upon a time, those small suitcases, which are designed to fit in the overhead lockers on the aeroplanes, they were what you got as hand. They were what you got to go on the aeroplane. But now you typically only get a small bag which you can fit under your seat.
Yeah.
And if you want that suitcase, you pay extra for it. So actually, and this is the really interesting thing, on that flight back, most of the overhead was completely free. Yeah. There was nothing in it. Now, It wasn't that long ago that I was going on flights, and that overhead we had to wait ages for people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Squeeze it in there in order to get it in, because you were allowed it. And then there was always a fight because someone was late onto the aeroplane and they had a laptop in a thing like that. And they said, no, we've run out of room. You're going to have to put it in the hold. And they're like, no, my laptop's in there.
Yeah.
No, it's got to go in the hold. No, because it will come out in a million pieces.
Yeah. I went on a flight the other week to Amsterdam, and I noticed what they were doing there is that because the plane was full, they were free of charge offering you to put that suitcase that goes above in the hold free of charge, because they were pretty much aware. Because if you think about it, the rows are usually 6 across. You look at the space, there's not enough space for everyone to get one of those cases above. So they were offering free of charge the chance to put it in the hold, because it has to delay the flights. It has to, because you just end up with, everyone's there trying to, and it must have a knock-on impact that maybe they've got to start realizing that the charging for the hold luggage forces everyone down the small luggage route, that then causes a problem because they then can't get it on in time, and you must then surely planes start missing slots, etc., whilst the cabin crew are sorting it out. It's sort of, I look at it and think, it looks like it's generating money, but is it just causing more problems? Are you shifting the problem from here over to here by doing that?
And also, it can't be very good for people, right? This next bit, it can't be very good for people to be picking up those heavy bags and throwing them, as they do, onto the aircraft, right? And they throw them. We've all sat there, watched it. You've all sat there and watched someone putting the stuff off one of those trucks into the aircraft, and they're like, and you're like, oh my God, that's my bag. But surely someone could actually invent something. Here's a good, because more people would prefer their stuff to go in the hold if it wasn't thrown. So surely someone could invent something that wasn't too expensive, that actually just took the bags and took them from the truck and carefully deposited them into the, or maybe there's just a better way of doing it.
Do you know who we should get on the show to talk about this one time? Is Harold Floyd. Now, I think I've certainly had conversations with Harold in the past. He's ex-military guy who runs a business called Elite Force Safety. He gets involved in all sorts of, you've probably seen him on LinkedIn.
Manual handling stuff.
Manual handling, and he does some fantastic little videos as to what he's done that day and all the little things. He'd be a great person to get on, because I bet there's some of that you could then apply to yourself in terms of how you handle your own luggage from your car all the way through to the airport, because people must do themselves injuries the way they're not used to carrying excessive weights, and then suddenly having to sort of handle all these cases, these small cases, big cases. It'd be really, really interesting to sort of get his thoughts on it and experiences. What does he see when people use public transport when carrying, because it's not just planes. It's the same with the trains, isn't it? You said, you talked about whether it's the underground, the overground, what injury and damage are people causing themselves by mishandling their luggage, whether it's the laptop bags or suitcases, things like that. So we'll have to reach out to Harold.
I always thought it was quite hilarious, and you might have stories about this as well, but I always thought it was quite funny that, a lot of the people that worked in the ergonomic sector end up with bad backs, etc. Because one of the things you've got to do is you've got to go round to various clients demonstrating kit and chairs and things like that. I mean, the amount of assessors that I've talked to that will go, I always carry. I mean, there's someone that I'm thinking of here told me not so long ago, I always take sample chairs with me to show clients. And you think, right, so you arrive on site, they don't have a lift. You're walking upstairs with a decent chair, weighs a lot. That's...
What would a decent chair weigh then, Graham? Top of your head.
I don't know in kilograms or anything like that.
But I'm sure the HSE regulations, I think when you send parcels on vehicles, is they can't be any more than 25 kilos, can they?
Oh, easily more than
a chair's got to be easy more than that, hasn't it?
Yeah, easily. Easily. I'll find out from someone that something like Ergo Chair or whatever. What does a chair weigh?
Yeah.
But a decent chair with a decent mechanism, and it's the mechanism that really makes the chair weigh heavy. Is heavy. Is really heavy. But when we used to fit out offices, I mean, I used to do whole office fit outs, etc. The heaviest thing I ever lifted was, there were two of us, one end of a storage unit, and it was a ton. So we were literally holding half a ton each and trying to squeeze it through a doorway. I mean, so it's hilarious, isn't it?
Don't you ever moan on this show about a bad back after doing things like that, Mr. Coath?
No, but that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, so it's the irony of the situation. You used to go in and speak to people and say, well, it's really important that you don't, and then then they'd order a load of chairs, and then you'd wheel them up to a building and you carry them up 3 flights of stairs, and 4 hours later, after lifting all of these chairs and setting everybody up, which means bending down and whatever, you go, going over like that. And you had to drive there as well. I mean, the furthest place I ever drove to do an installation was from Chard to Inverness.
I'm just letting that sink in for a moment.
Chard to Inverness.
In a 3.5 tonner?
Yeah, in a 3.5 ton truck.
Dare I ask how long it took?
Well, I was limited to 50 miles an hour because it was a really old 3.5 ton truck. So it took I think I left Chard at something like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
I literally had a 20-minute stop at Manchester.
Okay.
And I arrived at something like 2 a.m.
Wow.
In Inverness.
And then you had to do it to come all the way home.
And then I woke up the next morning, and this is a true story. I woke up the next morning. I was thinking, because we found this travel lodge or whatever it was really, really early in the morning, and sort of like, thank goodness I'm here. Got to bed, and it was like, I'm going to have to get up fairly early the next morning. I hope we're not too far from site. I opened the window, and the site was outside the window. It was nice. That near. It was that near. Yeah. It was like, back to bed.
Do you know what? I know we've touched on this in the past, but we must get our friend from Ergo Chair on at some point to talk about the Ergo Driver product, because I think as we talk about, we said planes, trains, and automobiles and all that sort of stuff, but that's one of the areas that's really interesting, with people starting to get back in their cars. And, ignore the pun, but actually, it'd be really interesting to hear from those guys about that product that they've developed, because they've identified an area, and it's been really successful, I think, hasn't it? I saw them at the Health and Wellbeing show a couple of months ago, and it was getting a huge amount of interest.
And I'm not surprised, because car cushions up until now have been pretty dire.
Yeah.
You can. I don't know whether you remember, but back in the day, it was all beads. Yeah.
Yes.
My dad bought my mum a beaded cushion thing for her car, for her birthday one year, and he's never been allowed to live that down.
No,
because it's not really a birthday present, is it? A beaded car cushion, but but a lot of them, because of the way they sit. And this is the fundamental difference, because of the way they sit. They're a cushion that sits somewhere into your back.
Yeah.
But obviously, as you sort of shift and move and whatever, they move up and down on the seat, and you're constantly doing that.
Yeah.
And if you can get 3 points on your license for doing that, surely you should get 3 points on your license for
fidgeting.
doing all of that as well. Because your hands are there, your hands aren't on the wheel. But the difference with that particular product, and yes, we'll get them on, is that the seat or the cushion itself sits into the whole of the profile of the back and is secured, so that does not move. And then you change where you have the support using air cells that fit on the inside of it, which you can move on the Velcro pad. So it's a very clever idea, and also a very big cost saving exercise for a lot of businesses, because if you do vehicle assessments with members of staff that are having problems, a lot of the time, if not, you end up having to change the vehicle if the seat isn't suitable. And that even if it's on contract hire and you've got to get out of that contract out, it could be thousands.
Oh, absolutely.
So massive difference in terms of the equation there. I can't remember how much it is, £250, something around that sort of region. To get the cushion, or potentially thousands to actually change the car. It's a bit of a no-brainer there. Sorry, I've sold that for them. There you go.
There you go.
It should be on.
Yeah,
commission.
we'll have some commission for that, won't we? For giving them a shameless plug.
Yeah. So we will be back next week with guests next week. I know we've got some special guests lined up in a couple of weeks' time.
We have.
Yeah, which
of the show who bizarrely isn't. We always see comments, but we won't say who it is. This individual is always commenting and regularly participates in the quiz. I know we haven't had a quiz this week, but we haven't seen anything from that said person. So we'll be. He will be joining us.
Well, I know from attending a network meeting this morning, there's a lot of people on holiday this week.
Ah, okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I've noticed it across LinkedIn as well. Actually, there's a lot of people that are away, as it were, this week. Probably struggling to get on an aeroplane. Because actually one of them that I spoke to this morning said, at this moment in time, I should be on an aeroplane, but I'm actually stuck and I'm in a cafe at an airport, and I don't know when I'm going to get on an airplane. It's quite a serious situation, coming full circle on this whole conversation, but it's been amazing how many people have had holidays cancelled right at the last minute. Literally get to the airport and then get told no.
Were you on holiday, Graham, when this sort of these sort of pictures came out? But did you see where the policeman at Manchester Airport was having to tell people that their holidays had been cancelled and that they'd have to go down and get the luggage? And you're thinking, what a crazy situation. It's not just it's been cancelled. You've actually got to the airport. You've checked your bags in.
Yeah.
And the fact that that a policeman had to go and present the news says a lot about the whole situation, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, because otherwise people might be
a riot.
We are now, very quickly, I do want to end on this.
Go on.
You absolutely reminded me. One of the things that absolutely fascinated me at Bristol Airport was it's an absolute classic. This is when you arrive at Bristol Airport, they have and if anyone's watching from Bristol or listening from Bristol Airport, brilliant. This is such a good thing. They have silver parking. So I don't know if you've ever flown to Bristol or flown from Bristol, but you've flown from other airports, and it's probably the same. So they now have a multi-story car park, which is right next to the terminal. Then they have a little short stay area as well, and then a long stay car park, which is in front of the terminal but within walking distance. And then they have silver parking, which I don't know why it's called silver, because that makes it sound above everything else. But actually, what that means is it's further away.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
Okay. So the silver parking is valet parking. So park and hand your keys in. Yeah. So you park in a space in a massive car park. Several yards up from the airport. It's on the other side of the runway, and then you get a bus and it takes you back across into the airport, etc. But you go into this centre where you hand your key in. Now this is the beauty of it. This is honestly, you'll love this. So what they've done now is they've digitized the front end of it.
Okay.
Right. I don't know if I've got the slip of paper on me. No, I haven't. But so there are 4 machines, and there's someone to make you feel at home as well and serve you. But effectively, you go in, and there's a computer in front of you, and you punch in your car details, and it brings up and you confirm all of those, and you put your flight number on and all of those sort of things, and then it says it prints out a ticket,
Okay.
and gives you a tab, and you put that all together, and you put your key on it, and then you deposit your key in a hole, right?
Okay.
All really clever and all really digitized. Yeah. Then you return home, and then you see what's at the back end of that, because actually it's a building where that's the front end and this is the back end. And when you arrive, you go through the one door and you see the front end, and when you come back, you go in the opposite door and you come in the back end. At the back, it's just a load of guys with hundreds of little boxes searching through the boxes to try and find the key.
Brilliant.
And I just love that. I love the whole idea in life that what we do is we put a frontage on something which makes it look so, like this is a digital thing. It's all,
there's a computer sending it off here and there and everywhere,
and it's
and
got
it'll
a
all
little
come
conveyor
back
belt, and it's going to go into a little slot and hang there or whatever, and it's all going to be, and then someone presses the button and they get all the keys that they need. No, this guy's going,
Bob, we can't find the keys for the Astra.
Well, do you know what? There was a couple there whilst we were there. They couldn't find their key.
Oh no.
No, and they're like searching through all the boxes, and they're like, what are you going to do? Well, obviously, you won't get charged for the car part, but you're going to have to.
You wouldn't want to be they need to get the police in to deliver that message, don't they?
Well, it's that reminded me, but I just thought that is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And it's a little bit like products that are designed to looked like they're designed to be ergonomic, but actually round the back, there's nothing really there.
No.
That's what it reminded me of. So there you go. If you're ever buying into a service or a product, what I'd say is always look into it deeply. Always look round the back. That's my tip for the week.
There you go.
Because look under the surface and see what's really behind.
Look under the bonnet.
Yeah,
look under the bonnet.
Absolutely. So until next week. Thanks all for joining in. This will, of course, be up on the interweb. You'll be able to download this at www.wowergonomics.com. It's brilliant. People are flooding to the site. We are seeing the numbers go up on the Spotify. Thank you so much for
thank you,
doing
everyone.
that. Do subscribe so that you get notifications week in, week out to come and watch it, listen to it again. And until next week, bye for now.
See you, everyone.